Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So, I got some good news this morning. My throat is a little bit better. So, hopefully, I'll be able to get through this without having a coughing fit or uh, I don't know. Without, I hope I'll be able to get through this without incident. But I do feel a lot better. I slept well last night. It's amazing what good sleep can do, isn't it? I'm drinking a lot of water, which means I am going to the loo every 30 seconds. But anyway, there you go. That's it. When you've got a sore throat, a little bit of a cold, it wasn't anything. It's not, hopefully, not anything too mega. But of course, for me, because my voice, I use it on the YouTube, I use it in my Spanish classes. It's my weak point. My voice is always the first affected when I get poorly. But anyway, there you go. So that's good news. I'm feeling better. Hope you're all feeling well this morning. Well, it's morning here in Spain. If you don't know, I'm based in Spain, in Europe. It is 9:16 a.m. I was a little bit late starting. I was supposed to start at 9, but as always, just rushing around, putting my face on, doing my hair, getting my breakfast, because I've got classes immediately after this live. Spanish classes, for those of you who don't know, I'm also in my other life a Spanish teacher. So what we're going to look at today is the next day. I think is it day 14? I've lost track now of how many days they've been. But we're looking at the latest evidence in this mushroom murder trial, which of course is the trial of this woman, Erin Patterson, who allegedly, it's still not been proven yet, she's not been found guilty yet, though it's not looking good for Erin, is it? But allegedly, Erin harvested or foraged for some deathcap mushrooms, the most toxic mushrooms in Australia. This happened in Australia, in Victoria, in Australia, not far from Melbourne, and invited her ex-in-laws over to lunch and her ex-husband, but he in the end didn't go, luckily for him. And 3 of them died. 3 of the invited people to the lunch died. Poor Don, his wife Gail, 70 years old, Heather, which is Gail's sister, who I think is 66 years old, and Ian Wilkinson, her husband, a local pastor. He was the only one who survived. So he has given testimony right at the beginning. So this is the case. This is what we're talking about. So the question is, it was then found that they actually died of deathcap mushroom poisoning. And, they tested positive. A couple of them tested positive. And Erin, of course, who was also at the lunch because she was the one who cooked the meal, she was fine except for a bit of vomiting and diarrhea. Or did she, though? Because that's what's going to come up in this evidence that was heard today at the trial. Did she even have mild diarrhea or vomiting? I personally can't see that she did. And the clue is in the title as well, the 9-second bathroom break. Now, who goes to the bathroom for 9 seconds when they've got an upset tummy? Apparently, allegedly. Anyway, that's what happened. This is Erin's husband, Simon, who in the end didn't go to the lunch. But it is his mum and dad, Don and Gail, who died, and his auntie, Heather, who died, and his uncle, Ian, who survived. So we've talked about, obviously I'm not going to go through everything, that's already happened, but there is a playlist for this case. So if you're new to the case or you've missed some of the days of the trial, the playlist is in the description box of this video. And where you can catch up with all the twists and turns of this case. Now, the evidence yesterday concentrated on phone data that was accumulated, recovered, examined, which showed that Erin had in fact been in the area where deathcap mushrooms grow. They grow around oak trees in forests, etc. In May, normally April, May, they come out. These are the offending mushrooms. As you can see, they look quite innocuous. They look like the sort of mushrooms that you might eat. They're not sort of brightly coloured or got a big sign on them saying don't eat, poisonous. So these allegedly, Riley, get down. Look, Riley's trying to video bomb. He hasn't done that for a while. Go away. So yeah, and these were in these people's systems. They were also, remnants of them were found in a dehydrator that Erin said she'd never had a dehydrator, but of course it turned out she in fact had. And she told all her Facebook friends on her true crime channel that she was a part of that she had a dehydrator and it was brilliant. And she'd been dehydrating mushrooms and putting them in her children's chocolate brownies. So that was like not a good thing. Also, it turns out, because of course Ian is a survivor, Ian Wilkinson survived that lunch, so he could say, he had to have a liver transplant, having said that, he went through hell. But he said that Erin at that lunch had told them all she had cancer, and it turned out Erin didn't have cancer. And they all sat and prayed for Erin at the end of the lunch because Ian is a pastor. So that was a big thing against Erin, isn't it? Who lies about having cancer? It's like, I always remember, for any of you British viewers out there who are of a certain age like me, do you remember EastEnders? I never watch EastEnders now, I think it's rubbish, but, it was good when it first started. And you remember when Ange, of course, who was played by Brian May from Queen's Wife, isn't it? It's funny, I can't remember her real name, but I remember she played Ange. It was Ange and Den in the Vic. This sort of long-running domestic sort of couple. He had affairs and she did this and that. And that was a really good storyline that they had at one time to try and stop him from leaving her. She said she had cancer, didn't she? I remember that. That's how well it was acted and how sort of strong it was for someone to lie about having cancer. I remember that. I remember it was very impactful. What Ange would do to keep Den next to her, to keep stop him from leaving her for his other woman. Funny, I remember I think I used to watch it avidly then. So yeah, anyway, never mind. I'm not getting into talking about EastEnders. But do you know what? Sometimes life is like an episode of EastEnders, isn't it? Or, sometimes we watch these soap operas and we think, oh God, that could never happen. But look at this, what's happening. So there's a problem with the motive. Nobody seems to be able to find a motive or think of a motive except for pure spite or irritation if she is in fact guilty. There doesn't seem to be a clear motive. She's financially independent. She's had a substantial inheritance. And then just suddenly about a year ago, apparently, her relationship that previously had been quite good with her estranged husband. They have 2 young children together. Apparently, over the last year before this horrible thing happened, their relationship had deteriorated a little bit, hadn't it? So that's the background. As I say, there's lots more to it. But if you look at the playlist, if you've missed anything, you'll get all the news there, all the info there about what's happened so far. So the question really is not if they died of deathcap mushrooms. Seems pretty much evident that they did. The question is Did Erin put those mushrooms in that beef Wellington paste deliberately, the deathcap mushrooms, or was it a terrible accident? Did she buy them in an Asian supermarket like she says she did? Or did she go foraging for them deliberately? These are the questions, aren't they? And she says she bought them in an Asian supermarket, but she can't remember which one. She doesn't have any electronic proof that she bought them. So she says she must have paid cash. And she doesn't have the packet. She apparently bought them a few months before the incident. She tried to use them in a carbonara. She thought they smelt too strong, so she left them. But she thought they would go well in this beef Wellington. And by the way, the people who went to the lunch described it as delicious. Delicious. So, had she powdered down those deathcap mushrooms, dehydrated them, powdered them? Were those attempts at putting mushrooms in her children's chocolate brownies a sort of test, like to see if anybody would notice? These are the questions, aren't they? So yesterday we heard from this telecommunications expert who was explaining about the phone data, and you're going to hear a lot more of that today. But and sometimes it does go on a little bit, doesn't it? But I think at the end of the trial, that's when the really interesting things start coming out. So yeah, watch this space. So first of all, I'd like to say thank you to all of you for liking, for subscribing, for watching. Thank you for your get well messages. I really appreciate them, because I've been feeling a little bit sorry for myself. I hate being ill so much. I mean, nobody likes being ill, but honestly, I'm the worst patient. I can't just sort of relax and try and get better. I have to sort of still work, and of course that makes you stay ill longer. But anyway, that's just me. I've always been the same. I'm not going to change now. But thank you for your good thoughts. Special thank you to my members, of course. Please think about becoming a member. That really helps to support my channel. Thank you to those of you who buy me Ko-fis, send super stickers, all these things that help support my channel and, make me carry on making these videos. If you enjoy my channel, please think about maybe becoming a member or supporting the channel. Having said that, the best way, as I always say, the free ways you can support my channel are just by watching, by subscribing. Don't forget to press the notifications bell and press all notifications. Yeah, that's, the way that you all support me. Thank you. Okay, hello, you lurkers, you fellow lurkers. Always start off saying hello to you. For those of you who don't like joining the chat, really, but you're watching in the background, thank you for watching. Hope you're all well. I'm a lurker on other channels, on quite a few other channels actually. Sometimes, depends if I've got the time. But yeah, lurking is fun, isn't it? So, and also thank you to Replay Crew. Thank you for watching. Not everybody can watch the lives as they happen, but I appreciate you watching afterwards. And yeah, now I'm going to say hello to all of you that are brave enough, as always, to venture into the chat, the chatterati. Hi, Mello. Yeah, my throat's better, but I need a catheter. Well, believe it or not, I actually had a bathroom break before I came on air, and I timed it because I can't believe that Erin took 9 seconds to go to the bathroom. 9 seconds, so I timed it, and that, mine, it was a number one. It was only going for a pee. So yeah, I'm timing my bathroom breaks at the moment. Hi, David. Yeah, dirty den and angel. Hi, Joanne. Hi, Annie. Good morning. Yeah. So, well, next time you go to the loo, try timing it. See if you can do it in 9 seconds. And supposedly, of course, Erin had, you know, diarrhea, had, an upset tummy. She's just been poisoned by deathcap mushrooms, for God's sake. I haven't been poisoned by deathcap mushrooms, not yet anyway, but I still couldn't go for a wee in less than 9 seconds. 9 seconds. I mean, my God. Anyway, I know I'm slow. I mean, I am slow, I've got to say, but 9 seconds. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to think about that in a bit. So let's see where it all starts. So, yeah, I feel like this trial's got to be coming near the end. I mean, what more evidence have they got? I mean, we have had a lot of technical information in this trial, haven't we? So we've had like the mushroom experts, the toxicology experts. We all know a lot more about mushrooms than we used to. Now we're on the phone data expert. So there's been a lot of experts. What am I trying to say? A lot of expert testimony, haven't we? Well, that's interesting, Annie. It's Jay Slater's inquest tomorrow. Yeah, I'm trying to think what classes I've got tomorrow. What day is it today? What day is it? It's Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, I will cover it. I have got classes, so I have to do it in between classes. But of course, I don't know what time it will start in the UK. I'm an hour ahead. But at some point, yeah, I definitely will be catching it, covering it. Well, I don't think anything's going to come of it, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Of course, it's probably going to be the same coroner as the Nicola Bulley case, isn't it? Lancashire. It'd be Lancashire coroner. It'd be Mr. Our favourite coroner, not. But, well, we'll see what happens. Okay, so as the day started, Prosecutor Jane Warren was continuing her questioning with Dr. Matthew Sorrell, a telecommunications expert. So we heard a lot, didn't we? He held forth about all the different ways they can check phone data, bouncing off signals, etc. So Dr. Sorrell talked the court through the various base stations around the Loch area. As we heard yesterday, a base station is the main communication point that nearby mobile phones will connect with and transmit data to. And during his testimony, Dr. Sorrell told the court he had been asked to analyse about 4 years' worth of phone records linked to a phone number registered to Erin Patterson. God, 4 years. The prosecution begins charting potential visits to the Loch and Outram area based on the phone's contact with nearby base stations. So don't forget this about the, Erin being around the areas where the mushrooms grow. That in itself would not stand up, would it? It's all the other things. The case against Erin Patterson is a culmination. Nobody saw her putting the mushrooms in. Nobody, even though, the dehydrator did test positive for deathcap mushrooms, so they definitely were in that dehydrator at some point. But nobody saw her deliberately doing it. Nobody saw her collecting the mushrooms. So this is a case that's going to be resolved with circumstantial evidence. But we've heard so much already. There's so many. It all started really with a lying about having cancer, which just set the scene, didn't it, really, for this whole thing. You know, all these little things come together to make a big thing. Yeah. I think, anyway. Now, it doesn't matter what I think. What matters is what the jury thinks, of course. So the prosecution begins its recount of potential visits which were recorded near the Poo Central Base Station in March 2022. And Dr. Sorrell says the I do love these Australian names. The Poo Central Base Station could be recorded during the visit by the Poo or lot. Sorry, this is my dark sense of humour taking over. I mean, what an appropriate name, the Poo. After, oh dear me, you couldn't make this shit up, could you? You couldn't make this shit up. Oh dear, no, I'm not trying to be facetious. Just sometimes with true crime, if you didn't laugh, you'd cry. Justice Beale interjects and says he is confused by the mass of data being presented and asks Miss Warren to make the relevance clearer. Miss Warren continues, listing connections to the Poo Central Base Station in May 2022, more than a year before the deadly lunge. The other thing that these kind of things prove, if the jury end up believing them, is there was intent and premeditation, extreme premeditation. You know, how long was, if Erin's guilty, how long was she planning this? You know, had she tried to poison anyone before? I mean, don't forget her ex-husband. There were allegations that she had tried to kill him, but they were ended up being dropped just before the trial began. Those allegations were dropped for whatever reason. So, you know, had she tried this before? Anyway, much of the questioning focuses on detailed accounts of phone records, down to the exact second that a phone connected with a base station. We are still analysing potential visits to areas in August 2022, well before the alleged visits to Loch and Outram in May 2023. Now, don't forget, Erin was described as a super sleuth. This true crime group she was a part of, they described her, they said she was a well thought of member of that true crime community. She was a super sleuth, you know, so it just makes you wonder, doesn't it? Hi, Daniel. Hi, Tracy. Let's make sure I haven't missed anybody else. Oh, so then they got, apparently, yesterday was a day of like complicated testimony and lots of breaks. You know, more breaks than Kit Kat. They like their breaks, don't they? So Justice Beale interjects and says there's a matter he wishes to discuss, and the jury's led out for a short break. Then they come back, and Miss Warren zooms out her summary slightly and says in an 18-month period, there are several visits to the same area. She then jumps forward in time to July the 31st, 2023, 2 days after the deadly beef Wellington lunch. And a list of phone records from that day, so this is 2 days later, shows connects to a base station in Leongatha during the morning, moving then to Coonawarra, then Outram, and later in the day before returning to Leongatha later. So Mr. Mandy, he's up and about. He's the defence lawyer. I wouldn't say he's done a particularly good job so far, but maybe he hasn't really got a defence to work with. He's up to question Dr. Sorrell. So he zeroes in on the July the 31st, 2023 phone records. He raises previous testimony from Dr. Sorrell, where he told the court even movement around the house could affect which base station a phone connects to. Mr. Mandy notes the brief window of time in which the phone connected to base stations in Leongatha Coonwarra and Outram during the morning. Dr. Sorrell confirms there is no record of the phone's location between the connections, and Mr. Mandy says that any guess at its location would be entirely speculation. You know, is that the best you've got, really, Mr. Mandy? So Mr. Mandy again states that Dr. Sorrell did not provide exact locations after the phone connected to a base station, but merely a general area. And he says, the data can't exclude alternative propositions? Mr. Mandy asks, and Dr. Sorrell says, yes, that's right. So here, Dr. Sorrell is asked about EBM data that he was provided with by authorities. And he says he only received EBM data for specific days rather than all available data, and initially avoided looking at it to avoid bias in his analysis. And Mr. Mandy says that if he wanted to, he could have received EBM data for the entirety of the past 2 years. Dr. Sorrell says that's correct, but he did not request it. So then Mr. Mandy busts out some maps of his own. That's a funny way of putting it, isn't it? Busts out some maps of his own. And Justice Beale jumps in to request a break. Oh, God. Justice Beale was probably thinking, oh, my God, I can't face any more maps. So they have another break. So when they return from the break, the defence outlines how antennas on base stations work, in a similar fashion to how he has cross-examined witnesses during the whole trial. Mr. Mandy is making assertions and having Dr. Sorrell confirm them. He reiterates that base stations are often put at high elevation and can cover wide swathes of the area. Mr. Mandy tells the court it is easier to exclude the possibility of a phone being somewhere than confirm it is somewhere, and Dr. Sorrell agrees. Dr. Sorrell repeats, as he has many times over the past 2 days, phone records can support and be consistent with the claim that a phone was in a particular place, but cannot confirm it alone. Now, I think I've got, I think I might have a picture of Dr. Sorrell somewhere. Right, just let me show you. This is the picture. This is Colin Mandy. This is the defence lawyer, just so you get a face. This is the defence lawyer, Colin, Mr. Mandy. And I think we may have a picture here on the mail. It's Erin. Here he is. I think this is Dr. Sorrell. Oh, where did that go then? Oh, for God's sake, stop jumping around. Just likes jumping around. God. Here he is, Dr. Sorrell. So you've got a face to put to the testimony. And let's go back to the actual reading it out now. Okay. So then the defence again attacks the usefulness of phone records as evidence, casts doubt about how much can be gleaned from phone records. Mr. Mandy again confirms with Dr. Sorrell that phones do not have to be in use to make a connection record, and that we have no knowledge of periods between when these connection records are made. Very little of the questioning today appears to deal directly with the actual case or the events surrounding the lunch at which Erin Patterson is accused of poisoning 4 people. Now, as time goes on, we do get into that, because we will be seeing this. It seems like there was a lot of this sort of evidence, but then the first testimony from the homicide detective comes in, and this 9-second toilet break to me is very relevant. So Mr. Mandy drives home several points about how unreliable phone reception and records can be, and now he's moved on to the weather. And Dr. Sorrell confirms that sometimes inclement weather can affect base station reception. It's not mentioned what the weather was like, though, on the days in question. And this reporter, I do think the reporters on this, that you can tell that they get, when they start to get fed up. Look, it's been a slow technical day in courtroom 4. In other words, he's totally bored. Everybody wants the smoking gun, don't they? Everybody wants the evidence. We don't want to hear the evidence that is confusing. We want the evidence that proves guilt one way or another, don't we? We want the clear-cut evidence. Okay. So Mr. Mandy draws us back to the Outer base station, which the prosecution outlined was a recorded connection in Erin Patterson's phone. And he says the base station could theoretically connect with phones in areas such as Foster North or Hmmmmm North, which Dr. Sorrell agrees with. So yeah, Mr. Mandy's, Mr. Mandy's modus operandi just seems to be discrediting the evidence. So in a roundabout session of questioning, Mr. Mandy drills down on the alleged visit to Outram, and Dr. Sorrell says while the initial call charge records did not indicate a visit, later analysis of the EBM records were consistent with the phone visit in Outram. As a quick refresher, EBM or event-based monitoring records are made whenever a phone performs a task that requires a data connection, such as when your phone scans for new emails or a Facebook notification. Mr. Mandy then summarised that the EBM records are a useful tool in establishing a phone's position, and Dr. Sorrell agrees. And if you're following any of this, you will remember that Dr. Sorrell was only provided with EBM records of Erin's phone for certain dates related to the investigation, rather than all the records for the past few days. And Mr. Mandy noted that although he could have requested all the records, he did not. It's been a very dry morning, and Justice Beale signals for a break, another break. So we return from lunch, and Mr. Mandy continues with questioning Matthew Sorrell, and he continues where he left off, underlining that EBM data can change an expert's opinion. And to illustrate, Mr. Mandy states that Dr. Sorrell could not determine whether Erin's phone had likely travelled to Outram based on call records alone, and required the EBM data to corroborate this fact. And Dr. Sorrell agrees. And Mr. Mandy then points out again that Dr. Sorrell only had access to EBM records for around 20 days or so. Then a crucial window of time on the morning of May the 22nd is raised between 11:18 and 11:42. Miss Patterson's phone hooked into the Outram base station almost exclusively for 25 minutes. And this is where the expert, remember, said that it was likely that the phone was stationary at that time. However, Mr. Mandy highlights times on either side of the period where the phone checked into Foster North base station, 36 kilometres away, and Hmmmmm North, 38 kilometres away. and he asked Dr. Sorrell whether, given the ability for phones to connect to other base stations, it was possible that the phone never entered the Outram area at all. Dr. Sorrell says the suggestion is predicated on a vast number of factors, but he concedes it is theoretically possible. So the defence, basically, they're trying to throw doubt over this visit to Loch. So he takes the same tack, Mr. Mandy takes the same tack with the alleged visit to the Loch area on the same morning of May the 22nd. And on Monday, Dr. Sorrell told the court that Miss Patterson's phone connected consistently to a Loch South base station for around 43 minutes. And Mr. Mandy says that while the data records showed it was connected, it could theoretically have connected from outside the area. So Mr. Mandy asked, you can't exclude the possibility that it was somewhere else and connecting to these base stations? And Mr. Sorrell answers yes. So this is Mandy's, as I say, this is his method. But the thing is, they can't all be, maybe there will be some anomalies, but there's so much information to confirm she was in these areas. They can't all be wrong, can they? Anyway, then he jumps onto a completely different topic, people using different mobile phones, and he lists some of the more obvious reasons. Someone might change their SIM card or mobile phone, reasons such as upgrading to a new model, repairing a broken phone, and exchanging phones with a family member. And in their opening argument, the prosecution alleged that Erin Patterson utilised 2 phones and 2 SIM cards in the days surrounding the lunch. Anyway, Mr. Mandy finishes, leaving the floor for the prosecution to re-examine Dr. Sorrell. They use the opportunity to bring up yet another topological map of the area around Gippsland. And after yet another, do you get the feeling this journalist is like bored stiff? After yet another brief clarification of how base stations might override each other, we take yet another break. Then we come back from the break, and Mr. Sorrell clarifies that the locations listed on the phone record shown to the court show where the data connection was last used, rather than where the data connect was started. He tells the court this is how Telstrator data is recorded. That location is the last location data was transferred, he says. He says several situations can end the transfer of data, such as a phone user finishing using the internet, a phone being turned off, or a hard 4.5 hour limit being reached. And the prosecution asks what would happen if a SIM card was removed in the middle of a data connection. That's an interesting scenario, he says. Interesting things happen when you take a SIM out and when a data connection is in session. He says it would show an end to a data connection and it would be reflected in the record. Oh, that's interesting. The prosecution has no further questions. A small murmur goes around the court at the end of Dr. Sorrell's evidence and he departs the court. It's probably, oh, thank God for that's over. Yeah, and now this is the interesting thing, I think. I mean, it's all interesting. I mean, I don't, that testimony from Dr. Sorrell is important, but yeah, it did seem to go on a long time. Now the homicide detective is called for testimony. Detective Senior Constable Quang Tran, who was tasked with investigating the alleged murder, is next on the witness stand. And he says he was tasked with obtaining CCTV footage, including footage of Erin Patterson entering a BP service station on the day after the lunch. Now, do you remember she was taking her son to a flying lesson And then halfway there, it's quite a distance away, halfway there, the flying instructor rang. He stood up and gave testimony. He rang her and said because of weather conditions, there would be no flying lesson. And apparently she got a bit snarky with him because she'd already was halfway there and she thought he should have let her know earlier. So this footage of Erin Patterson entering a BP service station on the day after the lunch, don't forget she's supposed to have a bad tummy by now, is played to the court. So we're taken to a service station in Caldermead at 3:20 on July the 30th, the day after the lunch. And footage from inside the servo shows Erin's red 4WD. What's that? Four-wheel drive, yeah. I'm going to hate these initials. Pull up in a spot just near the front door. The door opens and Erin can be seen getting out and walking in. The camera switches to another angle and Erin is seen calmly walking into the service station, past rows of items and into the toilets. About 10, they've added a second on now. 10 seconds later, she comes out and appears to browse some items on a shelf before taking a peek at other items in the fridge. She can then be seen standing at the counter before heading out the door and back into her car. All up, the trip to the servo lasted about 3 minutes. So, what did she go in that toilet to even do anything except maybe throw some things away? Was she getting rid of evidence? Was she flushing things down the toilet? I mean, 10 seconds. That's very, very quick, isn't it? 10 seconds. Even to just go to the loo quickly. I think that's important. So bearing in mind she was supposed to have diarrhea. So the court is now shown still images from other CCTV footage, which shows her red MG vehicle pulling up to the service station and getting out. In the footage, she is wearing a grey jumper and white pants. I mean, to me as well, if you've got an upset tummy, the last thing you'd be wearing is white pants, isn't it? While when you've got to do a long trip, this is a long, I think it was an hour and a half away, wasn't it? When you've got an upset tummy and you've got to go and drive an hour and a half, would you choose white pants to put on while carrying, just in case you had a little accident, while carrying a small bag with a crossbody strap? And Miss Warren suggests that Erin Patterson's toilet visit lasted around 9 seconds. But earlier in the trial, the court had heard that Miss Patterson had told hospital staff she had suffered vomiting and diarrhea in the days after the lunch. Another break, and then court is adjourned because there's some legal discussions going on, and the judge decides it's better to just send home the jury and adjourn and carry on tomorrow. So there you go. Let's put this. So I think there's some very, 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 very important things there. Hi, Angel. Okay, listen, I've got to go because I've got classes very shortly. But remember to like, remember to subscribe. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think of that 9-second bathroom break. Next time, I'll probably go to the loo in a minute. I'm going to time it again. Okay. Thank you. May your God go with you. Bye.